are in the future. Here we are in the future, and it's bright.
Steven Universe the movie. Oh, I know that some Steven Universe fans have been anticipating for this, especially when this is one of the more requested features for me to review. In fact, the reason why I'm reviewing this in the first place is because someone made a request on my Patreon. However, before I set foot on Beach City to look at one of the gem's most prominent moments, I'm gonna be transparent with you all and confess that I've never watched Steven Universe. Of course, I was definitely aware of it and witnessed the massive fanfare it had on social media, but I never had the time to watch the whole show, and I felt like I had higher priorities in my life to take care of than to commit to a sizable series. With that said, this is not to say that this is a review where I'll be pretentiously snarky and criticize the crap out of something that I'm completely unfamiliar with. Keep in mind, I'm Animat, not Lily Orchard. I will say, though, that despite not seeing a single episode, I do admire its cultural impact. How it was one of the most notable series to launch a revival in Cartoon Network's popularity during the 2010s, and how it brought fans together with a linear story that delivers complex characters and thought-provoking themes. Not to mention how Steven Universe was a key player in advancing LGBTQ+ representation in animation, and how the medium has since become gradually comfortable in presenting more diverse characters that go beyond the dull cis and straight norms. So this is all to say that this review will be from the perspective of a Steven Universe newcomer, someone who decided to skip ahead and use the movie as an introduction to Steven and the Crystal Gems. Is this a good idea in the first place? I have no idea, but that's what I'm about to discover with this review. So now that I'll have my first experience seeing the gems in action, will the movie shine as bright as the series' legacy? Or is skipping stones more enjoyable than watching these rocks? Let's find out. The story. As someone who is coming in fresh to the Steven Universe, the first question I wanted to look into was if the movie is welcoming to newcomers. Can you still get into the feature even without watching any of the series episodes? Well, in a strange and maybe indirect way, I'd say kind of. Set after the events of the series, the main story of the movie is that a mysterious gem named Spinel wants to kill Steven and the entire world, and ends up wiping out the memories of his friends. So not only does Steven have to stop the giant machine from destroying the Earth, he has to also help his gem friends to retrace their steps so that they could return to their old selves again. I could see how it's great for fans and a loving tribute to the show to deliver a reminder of what makes characters like Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst so lovable. But for someone like me, it's a clever way to quickly fill me in on the backstory of these characters while also making it an important piece to the plot, as it highlights what they meant to Steven and why they should get back to normal.
1, 2, 3. Amethyst!
Technically, it is true that the beginning with the first few songs does explain a bit of the show's entire story and what makes Steven so special as a half-gem. But it's that extra mile that I do appreciate, that I'm kind of learning who these characters are along with the gems themselves. Not to mention that it gives the feature a nice commentary about remembering who you are. How the major events in your life, both good and bad, shape who you've become today, and that a key role to your identity is the changes that make you different than what you used to be.
All this happily ever after stuff has made me forget the first power I ever had. The power to change.
However, while the film did help me understand the basics of the series, it only gave me a Steven Universe 101. It does give a good and immersive explanation to the foundation of the show, but there is still a bunch of context that is left unanswered for non-fans. This is especially the case with the world building. I'll say now that this is a very rich world, and I can see how it has established the life of the Crystal Gems, their history, and their current relationship with the Earth. And yet, it doesn't answer all the questions so that it completely makes sense, such as how fusions work or some of their general abilities. In fact, if you've never seen the show, that lion is going to confuse the crap out of you!
Here we are.
What the hell just happened?
Yes, I did end up leaving with about as much questions as I got answers. But the biggest drawback of this film for someone like me is that I don't have the emotional context. While there are some things I do understand here, I can also tell that they don't leave as much of an impact to me as they would to someone who has seen all the episodes. That's why there is a sense that this movie is primarily made for the fans, and that its main purpose is to be something that complements the series than to be its own thing. I'm not saying that I don't like the story, it is solid as it is, but it's the experience of watching the show that's supposed to elevate this from being good to amazing. It's one thing for the movie to tell the viewer about Pearl's past relationship or how Pink Diamond influenced others, but if you don't fully understand the emotional impact, you'll be mostly left in a similar position as the gems without their memories.
How about you, Lion? Can you make any sense of this? Aw, you're no help either.
But with that said, there is one original component to the story that is very strong and doesn't need any context from the show. What personally got me invested in the narrative is with the new character Spinel. And the more you watch Steven trying to fix everything and figuring out what is wrong with her, the more the movie becomes a bit heartbreaking, as it becomes less of a matter of saving the world and bringing back the character's memories, and more about healing what is broken on the inside. Does the movie have a good story? In general, I'd say yes. But the context of the story does make a difference to have you either like the movie or love it. The animation. While I am talking about a movie, this still technically counts as television animation, so it does follow the same limits that the series would. I mean, it's not like Steven Universe is the kind of show that would spontaneously have masterclass animation made by a legend like James Baxter. Or maybe it literally does, but even if I wouldn't count this as jaw-dropping visuals, this is still a good-looking picture. As it is Steven Universe, its animation did play a role in influencing many art styles that came afterwards. You may have heard some people call this the Cal art style, which is a term that some use to make themselves sound smart when describing a style that they find subpar, but in actuality is an indirect way to pretentiously say that they know nothing about animation.
I do say something is clearly wrong.
But whatever people may call it, I call this good. There is that simplicity that is meant to be easy to produce for television. So yes, there can be room where this could have been taken to a whole new level to have a real nice polish. Then again, there is a part of it that shows off its anime influence, making it easier to pull off some intricate camera shots and make some moments look more intense. That, and it does open the opportunity to really play around with the possibilities with its concepts of gem people living among us in a beachside town. And while it only has time to present a handful of them, the movie does display a wide variety of different designs that can be unexpectedly abstract, where some are more commonly humanoid, and others can go in some wild directions.
I saved you a seat. Thanks, Garnet. Hey guys, what'd I miss?
Not to mention how the designs even get an extra boost with the fusions to show how two characters can combine into a whole new entity. There are also the backgrounds that, while this doesn't really make the environments very immersive, I like the way that it's made that stays true to how it is a Cartoon Network show. The way they look like an imperfect silkscreen print with the colors kind of separated from the disjointed black lines reminds me of some of the network's retro shows, as if Beach City is not far off from the cul-de-sac from Ed, Edd and Eddy. But the one thing I love the most from the art of Steven Universe is the color palette. It is vibrant,
And it's bright.
As it is a series and a feature about living gems, the animation goes all out to use its colors as a way to define their characters and not afraid to mix and match for both their skin and their clothes, where some can be a bit more monochrome, while others can literally wear a rainbow on their heads.
That's who we are.
Even in the regular world, they help set the mood of the moment, like how the lightness of the city can be relaxing. But of course, I cannot talk about the movie's animation without bringing up Spinel. In theory, she would seem out of place with how she's the only one with a rubber hose style while everyone else's movements are more down to earth. But in practice, her style alone steals the picture, as it not only shows the further supernatural capabilities of the gems, but the way that it's used as a throwback to the classic cartoons of the 1930s enhances her unpredictable nature. It even gives that extra dose of creativity with the way that it is being used when fighting the other gems. Maybe by movie standards, this isn't the best animation produced, and I understand that it has to stay true to the style of the show. But by its own merits, it is very well crafted, and the movie does provide a great example of the series' animation. The characters. After several seasons, Steven Universe is the kind of show that has a massive cast. In fact, the series is noted to have over 180 individual characters featured. In the movie, you will find many fan favorites present themselves, but the majority of them are just extras to liven up Beach City, while a handful that do play a part in the plot can vary where some have their own role, while others may function as a group. But as a movie where character development plays a vital role with its theme of remembering who you are, I'll hand it to them that they are very well written, along with the actors being very passionate with their roles, especially Zach Callison as Steven, and able to carry the emotional core. Then again, like I said before, how much you can be emotionally connected with them will depend on how much you have seen the show, and in my case, I may not have gotten the whole picture of what they all previously went through. Starting off with the titular gem human hybrid himself, Steven is the kid who brought peace between the gems and the people of Earth, but wants to spend his life at ease with his friends without a care in the world. But since that's not how life functions, he doesn't get that, and Spinel's intrusion costs him both his gem powers and his longtime friends. And on his journey to bring back their memories, Steven simultaneously goes through a similar quest. As he attempts to figure out what the gems went through to become who they are, he also tries to discover his own development. What is it that made him go from an average kid with a love for cookie cats to the peacemaker who saved millions?
I'm paying for stuff my mom did that had nothing to do with me. I'm struggling with my powers. The world's about to end. What piece could I be missing?
As for his friends, while you do get a small taste of the personalities of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, they all share a similar role of being Steven's closest allies who lost their identities. I'm sure you get a whole lot more out of them in the show, but in here, they are more like a MacGuffin to help the protagonist get one step closer to the big goal.
I don't know anything about Spinel. None of us had ever even heard of her before. Except Pearl. Pearl knew her.
At the same time, there are other gems who work as a trio to play one significant part, like Peridot, Lapis Lazuli, and Bismuth, where they analyze the giant machine that could wipe out all organic life on Earth while also giving a bit of help to Steven when they can.
So maybe we've got to create some sort of dangerous situation.
Well, what do we have that's deadly and dangerous laying around?
Then there is the Great Diamond Authority, consisting of White, Yellow, and Blue Diamond, who are the rulers of the gems, looking for someone to fill that empty void that was left by Pink Diamond.
You know what it meant to love her, and you remind us so much of her.
There are also a few other human characters that have their moment to shine, like Connie is Steven's friend who hint that they may eventually become more, and his dad Greg, who offer some enjoyable comedy to lighten up the mood.
All right, I'll wash my hands.
And then there is the new villain of the picture, Spinel, who is like the love child of Harley Quinn and Judge Doom. At first, she seems like the insane villain that wants to destroy the world. But the more you look into what happened to her, the more you discover how she is the result of a very heartbreaking life. She was meant to be the cartoony and fun-filled friend of Pink Diamond, a living embodiment of childlike wonder. However, thousands of years of abandonment left her purpose to become unwanted, and what was once love turned into rage so she could let it all out on the things that Pink Diamond left her for. which is both Earth and Steven.
And aren't I a fool to have happily listened, happy to stay?
On top of the wonderful performance of Sarah Stiles, who captured both the silliness and tragedy of the character, Spinell is a fantastic villain who has enough heart to feel like she could deserve a second chance, but also presents herself as a great threat with the power to destroy life itself with ease.
Think again. You're not getting rid of me that easy.
Again, the movie does have a bit of dependency that you'd come in with the context of who these characters are and what they went through. Without it, the cast won't leave a significant impact to you. Then again, with the elements that newcomers can understand, like Steven's quest to figure himself out or Spinell's need for revenge, the characters can still be a powerful force for the picture to leave viewers become emotionally bonded with some of them, rather if they are fans or not. The songs. The show is already known for having occasional moments of extravagant musical numbers. So when it was time to bring the Crystal Gems onto a feature film, of course they have to give it their all to make this a full-on musical. With the series, Rebecca Sugar established herself as having a keen sense of music with titles like It's Over, Isn't It?, Love Like You, and Change Your Mind. But she stepped it up for the movie and got even more help to make the song's true standout moments. The show already has some prominent musicians and singers like Ivy and Surashu, Estelle and Didi Magno Hall, but the movie now has the additional assistance of Chance the Rapper, Gallant, Macy Stewart, Ted Leo, Jeff Liu, and many more. As a result, the film features a large list of songs to the point that this can be considered a half opera. The kind in which where the characters do have a chance to talk regularly, but just about every scene has to have at least one musical number.
You just need to find someone.
I can imagine that by hearing what I'm talking about, some would be put off by it where the film can hardly take a step without someone putting on a song and dance number. However, Steven Universe the movie was able to not only make these moments tolerable, but honestly, the best parts of the movie. The soundtrack overall has a modern flair that leans more into electronica and R&B with the types of instruments being used for the music. But it does explore a variety of genres that fits with the respective characters singing, such as an operatic trio,
Come live with us in the palace. There's a room waiting for you.
rock,
Independent together, you and I.
Broadway,
I'm gonna be right by your side no matter what.
and of course, ragtime.
Gee, it's swell to finally meet her other friends.
But to be honest, you know what I love the most about the songs? Yes, I will give it credit that it does a great job to using them as a storytelling device in a way that it enhances the mood and telling us more about the central characters. But what I really like about them is how calming they can be. Sure, some could be a little more sporadic, but there's something about them that share a common theme where they feel soothing to listen to.
It's the true kind of love.
Happily ever after, here we are.
These are not really the kinds of songs that you jam and dance to. They're more like lo-fi music that's meant to be relaxing. Yeah, it's strange for a world's in danger type of movie to have such calming music, and it doesn't really go as big as a stage musical with their moments. But they were great in their own way because they help the viewer to be more immersed into the film. To calm the mind and put the focus not necessarily on the performance, but on what they're saying, who they are, and the message they want to convey.
We'll find a way to save the day. That's who we are.
This really is a musical like none other. A very rare moment where it takes a different route than the typical stage show style and goes heavy on the quantity for a film that's just over 80 minutes long. Yet the songs were able to pull them off one by one beautifully to stand alongside some of the best animated musicals. So, to answer the big question, can a Steven Universe newcomer enjoy the movie? Maybe not as much as the fans would, But I'd say absolutely. Steven Universe the movie is a fantastic animated feature that is a shining example of why the series was once a cultural phenomenon. Thanks to its emotionally gripping story, strikingly nice animation, a strong soul present onto the characters, and a beautiful soundtrack, it is easily one of the best movies directly from Cartoon Network. The only catch that this movie has is how much you will like this will depend if you have seen the show. Yes, you could still watch the movie without any of the series context and you'll be fine. But it won't be as completely engaging as it would be if you are fully familiar with Steven Universe. Do I recommend people to see it regardless if they watch the show or not? Yes, I would. But again, this is a movie that is meant to be a complement to the series, and it is made more for the fans to get engaged with than for everyone to hop in. So if you're like me and you never saw Steven Universe but want to watch this movie, don't expect to have all your questions answered. By the way, if you enjoyed this review, then how about giving this a like and subscribe to my channel? I promise that you won't need any context to enjoy my videos. Maybe I would have enjoyed this more if I did watch the series, but as someone who hasn't, I did end up feeling like I got a happily ever after from the experience. Hey guys, this is Animat. I want to start things off by giving out a huge thanks to Tom Jackson, whose amazing support on Patreon allowed him to get some amazing rewards, including this one, where he got to ask me to review Steven Universe the movie. And I'm gonna be very honest, if I had watched the show, I probably would have given this a much higher score than just an 8 out of 10. Maybe it would have gone above like a 9 out of 10 or maybe even more. And yes, in that regard, I would have given it the Animat seal of approval. But from watching it, I will say that looking back into the reception that it got, like when Steven Universe the movie was just released and fans were just freaking out about it, honestly, now I understand why. I could see why the fans adored this movie and why they would go and give it like a 9 out of 10 or even a 10 out of 10. Like, I could see from the fans' perspective that this is like a massive treat for them, that this is like a great addition to Steven Universe because there's a lot of well-crafted things that they have done in there. But I will say though, still, the fact that it did get an 8 out of 10 and coming from someone who had not seen the show, that is still mighty impressive. So I will say that as a Steven Universe newcomer, yeah, there is still some context that I am missing, but from what I've gotten from it, it's still mighty impressive, and I still really like this movie as is. Alright, so with that said and done, now that we are finished with Steven Universe the movie, it is now time that we shall go and move on to the animation hat. And before I go and pick the next review, I would just like to go and say that if you would like to be like Tom Jackson and you would like to go and support my work and get some amazing rewards, including but not limited to seeing my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. At the same time, if you would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and that I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Alright, so let's see what we got. What's going to be the next review now? Maybe it'll be something on par with Steven Universe, or maybe even more. Hold on, let's see if I could get something. Ah, there we go! Got it! Okay, so, the next review shall be... Let's see. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Okay. So, I remember watching this movie many years ago, and oh boy. Like, I will say that it's one of the very rare movies that I would consider to maybe be a little too smart for me. I know, it sounds like a weird statement, but hopefully with how it really goes philosophical and like so many years has passed, I have grown older, and hopefully that means I've also grown wiser. Maybe I will understand what this sequel is talking about now.
How's the future look, Garnet? Do we all stay just like this forever? No,